Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cat's Agenda. Today we have my beautiful sister, Priscilla Gonzalez, also part founder, right, of The Way We Social. So we're going to dive into a lot of things today: sisterhood, entrepreneurship, social media branding, all that good stuff. So giving you the mic.
Hi, guys. Again, I'm Priscilla, one half of The Way We Social. It feels so weird being on this side of the camera because I'm always on that side, sitting in the corner and recording and producing. So, thank you for having me on the podcast today.
Thank you for
And
coming.
I think it's super exciting that we are sisters. I know people probably like see us and we're not opposites, but also opposites. Like I feel like people are like, "What? That's your sister?" And it's like, "Yes, that's my sister." So, yes, sister. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always supporting me. Thank you for everything. There's not enough words that I can say to thank you for all you do for me and my business and the family, everything. Everything that we do, everything that you do it from your heart. So we're gonna talk about all the good stuff that you are doing with your partner, Eliza, which is on
Yes.
the other side today.
Today, she is the one that is producing,
We can't put the camera on her, but we know
but
she's
she's here.
there.
She's here.
All right, so we're gonna dive a little bit into the journey of building your brand.
Okay.
We want to talk about how you got started in the industry and where you are now, where you're going, and how you got started.
All right. Well, a little bit before, I'm going to start before I got like why or how the business kind of came along. But before getting into social media and marketing, I was in retail for like 10 years, 10, 12 years almost, and started off as a sales associate and little by little with different brands, kind of like rose up to the management position. One of my favorites being Top Shop Top Man in Soho. And that was, I feel like, right before COVID happened. I feel like we were in a really good place with the business. The trends and the fashion were like on point, the fits were on point. But, you know, as every business experiences, like ebbs and flows with traffic. So there was a time where I got promoted to assistant general manager of the top man level, which was like the all men's floor. We had like suiting, we had summer wear, we had all of the things. And we just, the suiting department, you know, every week they would challenge us in these walkthroughs of how is business doing and what are we going to do to like make it better. And the suiting department, while we had all of these really great fits and all of these different types of like really cool suits, I felt like the awareness was just something that lacked. And while people were always coming for the kind of like more toned down version of like their fashion pieces, they never were really coming to us for suits. And I think it was like a mixture of people not knowing we had suits and then also just, again, maybe the suit section needing a little bit more love. So we kind of started there with that. And we were like, okay, maybe we need to move all of the really cool styles to the front. Maybe we need to pair some shoes and show people how to put these pieces together. And then I thought to myself, like, okay, how can we even think more outside of the box? So I started thinking about social media, and that was kind of when influencer marketing started to become a thing. So I was like, if we can get some really cool people to come in and try these suits on and show how they would style it, maybe that would create some awareness and maybe we could do an event that would help us really push suiting season. So around April, it's kind of like everybody's getting ready for prom and they're getting ready for like just switching up maybe you're getting into more pastels and yeah, the spring vibe. So we thought, what a perfect time to have this really cool event. And so I started reaching out to people on socials that I knew had really cool style. They had a following. And I just sent them a DM and I was like, hey, I know you might not know me, introduced myself. But even though they didn't know me, they knew the brand. And so it was people that I sometimes saw even passing by and picking out some pieces. So I knew that with the backing of the brand, it was possible to get through to some of these influencers. So I was like, hi, I work for Top Shop Top Man. I'm reaching out because we're doing a suit campaign and I would really love to include you in it. I love your style. I love, just your consistency, your hard work. And I'd love to connect on if, what you think could be possible for your involvement in this. And so a lot of people responded, which was really cool. And yeah, that's kind of where I started to feel like the excitement of like connecting with people. I feel like I've
Remember that event? I
always,
feel like it was just yesterday.
I know, it's crazy. That was like 2017 maybe, so almost 10 years ago. And so that's where my love of like connecting socials with business kind of started, right? Seeing that there was like a connection there and that we could again think outside the box in a way to bring more people in and get more awareness for any type of brand. So we had the suiting event and it went really well. We actually made $11,000 in suits that day. And my GM was like, we have to do this again. Like this has to be like a thing. And so the following year we did the same thing. We had a different theme. We connected with more, influencers. And lo and behold, again, we had a really successful event. And after that, I feel like because we went really hard with marketing this event, people started to come in for suits. And on the daily, now it wasn't just these like 2 times during the year where you would see the uptick in sales, but little by little, the suit department started to trend. And that is exactly what you want as a business owner, right? And so it did so well that corporate from other locations started to ask us what we were doing and have us on calls. And so it was really cool. And it was really just the beginning of the foundation of me understanding, okay, there's people out there who love this. I love people in general. I'm like such a like community, like people person. And so I said, there's something here. But again, I really loved my position, really loved all the people that worked there. So I wasn't really thinking about social media and I feel like I was still in front of the camera at that point. Like I love taking pictures. I love showing my outfits, love showing like what I was up to. So it was definitely an outlet that I was using for creativity. I was doing music still at that time. So just really trying to put myself out there and share the journey of that. And so now we reached COVID, and that was like such a heartbreaking time because all of these stores started closing. People, were not allowed to be around each other. And I feel like fashion was just something that people started doing a lot more ordering online. And so they gave us like a 2-week notice that the store was closing. And we actually were coming back from Puerto Rico from our trip to see Papa right after he passed. And I remember on getting off the plane and seeing that I had a voicemail. And it was my GM saying like, hey, I'm so sorry to let you know this. I know you're just coming back from vacation, but the store is closing in 2 weeks. And I wanted to let you know before you came back, like in 2 days. And so that was one really shocking because no one had a plan at that point. And this was right before COVID. So again, like I feel like they kind of knew like something was happening because this was like 8 months before COVID happened that the store was going through this like transition of closing. So they gave us again that 2-week period. And in that time, our brand did a really good job of like bringing a whole bunch of everyone's connections that they had from any stores. They were bringing them in. You were allowed to interview during your shift. You were allowed to interview on your break. And they brought like everyone to us, which I thought was really nice because it could have just been like fend for yourselves, figure it out. And so there's a lot of parts of my retail journey that I brought into creating the business. And that was one of them, like the care for people. I feel like that was always something that no matter what brand I was in, the people were always my core focus, making sure everyone was happy, making sure that the schedules felt fair, making sure that they liked coming to work, and it was an environment that never felt too heavy. And even though it's business and it's important and we have our moments where things need to be really professional, but come closing time, we put on a good playlist, all like laugh, make jokes. Yeah.
It's so important.
And you know that because I feel like you also do a really good job of making sure that all of your people are taken care of.
I mean, we all came from like environments that we weren't happy. And I was in retail before too. So I would put on the music. We would change the music and we would like plug in our MP3 instead of the store's music. I probably get fired now, but thank God I'm not there anymore. But we would change the music. We would change the vibe. We would just, have a good time. And I think like that's so important, and being good to people because that's what brings repetitive business, and that's what builds relationships.
Right.
So I feel like you're so good at that, and you're like such a humble person. We have that in our blood. Sometimes it could be our kindness can be mistaken for weakness, right? And we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, so go on.
Yeah. So basically, we figured out where I was going, and I winded up going to. It wasn't somewhere, and again, nothing against this brand, but it just wasn't coming from Topshop and coming from such a high end. Like everybody is really just inspiring with their energy, inspiring with their fashion. We were in Soho, like the epitome of fashion district. I wound up taking a position at Old Navy, and it was a completely different environment than Soho. Yeah, because it was a short period of time. And so I winded up taking a position there because they were the only company that was able to match and actually offer me a little bit more than what I was currently making. And they only offered me more because they knew I was good. They saw my success stories. Everybody was talking me up as far as like, my GMs and stuff. And so they were like, listen, like, we want you. We want to make these positive changes here. And I had like a really good, I had faith that like maybe I could bring this to a place that, again, Old Navy, I think, does a really good job with figuring out trends a lot better now than I think in the past. I've seen some stuff that could be a cross between them and Gap and be still like fashion forward. And so I had faith like, okay, this is meant to be part of my journey. Fine. Get to Old Navy. Everything's great. But I feel like it's different. Like you work with a different type of person in Old Navy. And a lot of the time people weren't really like so happy to be there. And so that makes it hard for you. And I also winded up taking like a stock role, which I never did. Like I always was like front in like on the floor working with people. And so they really needed support with their back end before even like making sure the floor was okay. So that was really different for me. But overall, long story short, I winded up getting fired for the first time in my entire life. And it was because somebody was trying to steal denim from the front table. And they always told us like in our training, it was like, you're not allowed to leave the front door. And it basically is like a no matter what situation. But when we were working in Topshop, people would steal and we would like go after them for like a block.
I remember.
Yeah. Like and they would drop the clothes. Like we did not play because that also like affects your bonus. Right. So you're over here trying to steal, and Topshop stuff was expensive. So imagine you're taking, rows of denim from the front table. Each one is about $39 to $49 up to maybe even $79. Like that's a whole chunk of bonus money that is just out the door. And in that location that I was in for Old Navy, there was a lot of theft like happening all the time. So for me, one day I was handling the floor. I hear on the walkie, Priscilla, somebody stealing from the front table. Start running toward the front to see if I could stop them. And they were putting all of these jeans into a paper bag, like a big paper bag, but it was too heavy. So the bag ripped, and them rushing because they're seeing me come toward them was just, I guess, like a frantic moment. And so as stuff was falling out of the bag as they were running out the store, I went to go pick up the jeans. And so right outside the store, maybe like a few feet away, a couple of jeans had fallen there. I walked out to go and get them, and boom, I got fired for literally leaving the store. They said it would be like a liability or whatever. So it was actually the biggest blessing. At the time, I was so devastated.
I think I remember vaguely because, you've never gotten fired before.
Right.
So I don't think we've ever gone through those experiences. They're a little humbling.
Right.
But like, why?
If ever I was unhappy, I was always the type to like find a new position and leave with my 2 weeks, like never really burning any bridges. And I think because I think so much about what my next steps are, every step that I took in my journey was always a step better than where I was, a place that was even cooler than where I was. And so this was the only step in the journey that felt like a side step versus like a forward. And so I was like, you know what? I have faith that whatever this is meant to bring me, like this is it. 2 weeks after I got fired, COVID happens. And I was ahead on the unemployment, ahead on all the things. So by the time all the stores started really feeling the impacts of like this being real, I was good. And I was set up for like the next 2 years basically
It's a
of like,
blessing in disguise.
yeah, it was. And so my first advice that I would say is never question the universe's path for you, as it could be something that feels so hard at the time, could be so sad, but everything that you go through is meant to happen for a reason. I couldn't imagine how upset everybody already was on a normal day working, how much more the environment would have affected me with COVID involved in that, and people just probably not showing up, you might being the only person that's working an entire like 3-floor building. So I feel like I got saved from all of that, and the universe was just like, let me take care of you for a second, let me give you like a, I don't know, like an epiphany moment, because it felt like that after. I was like, so this is why this happened to me, not because of all the things that we tell ourselves in our head, like, oh, you're so dumb, why did you do that, you knew better than that, Priscilla, like this was, you're on unemployment, even though because I was making good money, like it wasn't so bad, but you're not getting your same pay. So you think about rent, you think about your bills, you think about all the things that, go through your head of like this mistake that you made. And so for me, thankfully, very quickly, I was not able to sit in like that pity party moment. And we had no idea. And the craziest thing was like, I was starting to ask about masks and stuff like that. And they were like, well, until they're mandated, like we're not really gonna move forward with like making everyone nervous. And so I think even from that perspective of like safety and health and all of those things, like, again, just really a blessing in disguise, like you said. And so now I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm really tired of having my employment in someone else's hands. Like, we know, mom knows, like our family is really big on you are in charge of your own life. If something makes you happy or you're curious about something, you want to try something, go for it. And so mom had her party rentals business at that time. You had your brokerage. And so I was like, you know what? Why don't I help out in my family's businesses at this time? I think for the first like maybe 6 to 8 months, we all didn't really get to do much or see each other. But it was something that like once things started lifting and feeling a little better, was on my mind to, this is what I want to do. And so that was the switch for me of like entrepreneurship turning on. And even though it was me like being within the businesses and still not fully on my own, it was a step in the direction of, I'm going to have faith that I'm going to be able to survive as an entrepreneur. And that's a big step. Like the faith in yourself has to be almost like, what do they say? Like delusional, to believe that you can start from scratch, that you can defy the odds of all the other statistics of people telling you how many businesses fail and don't make it. And
or
so
get a real job.
right.
Yeah.
Do something that gives you benefits and all of the things. And so, yes, while I think all of those things are important, Rob, we will always, do what we feel is in our heart is the best thing for us. And so I feel like all of the advice that we get is definitely something that stays close in my mind, as far as like, these are things that I do need to think about. How is retirement going to look like for me? What does savings look like? And but for me,
scary. It's a scary thing, but it's also like, I have control of my future, even though, kind of seems like it's not in control sometimes, but it's a risky thing, but it's all out of your passion and your love fuels it.
Right. And if it's something that you love to do and it doesn't feel like work, then that is the most beautiful gift you could give yourself. Like being in a place that drains you, being in a place that, takes more than it gives you. And that can be like, financial stuff for me used to mean a lot. Money used to mean a lot to me. I think being an entrepreneur now, I have a different idea of what rich means. And the way that I'm rich is the fact that I get to work with my partner, the fact that I get to, people say like you create your own schedule, but you're still creating your schedule around your clients' schedules, like making sure the availability, but you don't have to choose anymore if you're really going to miss something, because if you really want to be there, no one else is forcing you, you know? And so you might have like a dream client moment where you're like, oh my God, I really don't want to miss this. And depending on what it is, you know, you can kind of play around with that. But those things when I was in retail were something that was eating me. Like I was missing birthdays, I was missing baby showers, I was missing family trips. And for me, a lot of my like weekends and weekdays, and now like the weekend and the weekdays kind of like just mesh together. Like we have our own days where sometimes there's weekends that we're working, sometimes there's weekends where we're free. But we always make sure that we have like a really good balance of what that looks like. And I know we'll get into balance and stuff later too. But to close now, how I got into starting the business, it kind of started there. And so I was helping mom. We started recording a lot of stuff. We were doing events here at the loft. And
you guys did some really good stuff.
Yeah, like we were doing stuff with Devin. We were doing stuff with me and mom, like just cleaning, spending time. And even that, like a lot of my friends reached out and they were like, me seeing you with your mom and the videos that you're doing just like is so heartwarming, because some of them have lost their parents. Some of them don't have a strong or good relationship. And so giving them a peek into like what that was like, that meant everything to me. Because I also felt like, you know, in my early 20s at least, I felt like I was a little bit away, trying to find my way, trying to find my journey, trying to figure out life. And sometimes you feel like you have to do it alone, or you have to do it away from people, because there's this expectation, because there's a lot of little things that you might not see eye to eye on. And I needed that time to understand how important family actually was to me, and family time. And so I felt like that time that I got to work with mom was like our time of all the time that was lost with us. And so it was really beautiful in the moments that were hard. I was like, who gets to do this? You know, like who gets to work with their mom? Who gets to spend that time? And so I always thought about that. And so I'm so glad that we got to do that for like, I don't know, 3 years or so.
3 years. You and Devin and mom were hustling all over the place.
Yes.
Mom was definitely doing her thing, and you guys had her back, you know, and you guys did your little TikTok videos, and mom learned how to do all these things. I'm like, look at this lady doing her thing. Mm-hmm. But you know, our mom is the ultimate entrepreneur. I think she gave us she gave us the hustle, and it's a blessing to see that, because we're all pretty close, you know, with our family, and we all go through our moments where we have our distance, you know.
Right.
But mom has always been there for us, and we love you, mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, mom. We love you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for leading with the crown and showing us that it's all possible. It all started with you. But yeah, so I was spending that time with mom, and throughout that time, I was making videos of myself doing stuff, showing people my day. And that's really, again, how social media kind of like started for me.
When you would do the videos in the office?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And
you did our training videos too. You're really good at all that stuff.
Thank you. But I love that. Like, you know, I was able to figure out like how we could utilize the platform and utilize just the things that we could to help train the other agents, to show people what mom had available, things that she was doing, and really try to like make the business feel like it was growing. And so I had gotten my first client through their interest in seeing my videos, and she was doing really well. And so she was like, hey, you know, I've always dreamed of being able to pull you into our team. I think I'm ready to take social media for my business to the next level. I really do want to reach more people, and I want to reach a certain caliber of audience. And I think that if I'm doing it on my own and doing everything on my own, she understood the importance of delegation. And I think that when you come to a part in your business that could be a little bit scary, a lot of time people can say like, you know, you could keep that money in your pocket, just do it yourself. But if you really want to grow, you have to be able to say like the right investment makes sense. Right. And so when that time is different for everyone, but I think that the first step is that. And so she had given me an offer, and I was like, all right, let's do this. And so I started to basically work kind of like part-time, but it grew into like a full-time position with doing like other things within the business. But that was my first step in like then really starting to learn like what is social media? What can social media do for a business? Because again, while I was showcasing a little bit of mom's, a little bit of yours, my own life, I felt like it wasn't anything that was like directed with ads or to like I really started being able to like A/B test things and say like, okay, we're gonna try this messaging, and then I'm gonna try a different visual, but for the same goal, and try this messaging. And so I really got a chance to kind of play around with everything, and yeah, that is how everything started. Then more clients started reaching out, and I
You
was able
left me,
to. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I left you.
but it's okay. You're still here.
Yes, and I'm here in other ways, and I feel like you know that when like anything that you need as far as help with
But you
anything,
needed
we
to
always
spread your
got you.
wings. You needed to fly, and I'm so proud of you. But we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna get into more. So
Period.
we'll be back. Hello, guys, and welcome back. We just got into how Priscilla started on her journey of the way we social and her entrepreneur lifestyle. So, we're going to dive a little bit more into some other topics. So, I would ask what have been some of your challenges that you have faced during this transition and during your entrepreneurship journey?
So I think one of the biggest challenges I faced, I think 5 years into the business, what was consistently a challenge but in different levels was imposter syndrome. A lot of people talk about this, but it's a real thing. Like, you think sometimes when a lot of work is coming your way, if you feel kind of like sometimes an anxiety or like overwhelm, anxiousness of all of these deadlines that you have, all of these things that you have going on. Again, the balance and making sure that you're present with all of the other things that really mean like a lot to you. You could fall into thinking like, is this for me? Am I doing good? I see other people that are in the business, and the perception of what they're putting out is that they're so busy and they have all of this stuff going on, all of these cool things. People are asking them to talk at events. People are, like investing in what feels like even sometimes more expensive things than what you offer. So I think that's another challenge, right? Like, knowing when your prices are ready to go up, why your prices have to go up, and having the right clientele that understands and doesn't question what that looks like. Like, you don't put up your prices just because you want to put up your prices.
Absolutely.
You put up your prices because there's volume of work, and now you need to bring on a second person. There's volume of work, and you want to offer higher quality, so your investment into a camera can cost well up to $4,000 with the right camera and the right lens. You're now, looking at all of these other things that you need to help make everything work, even a laptop. For so long, I was working off of the iPhone for like maybe the first 2 years
We all
of
been
me.
there.
Yeah. First 2 years of me working, I was just using my phone. And even though I didn't have a camera, I really took the time to learn everything I could possibly do with my phone. Got a gimbal, steady shots, learned color grading. And I think that even when I look back at the work that was done on the phone, it was still really good. Like, I was like, wow, like, okay, I see what I was doing. But then, from that, editing a lot of videos on the phone, it's hard because you're looking at it in a smaller screen. The amount of,
Data.
all of the storage, all of that. So then Eliza actually, for one of my birthdays, got me a iPad, and that she had got me the iPad Pro, and I was so happy because now I could edit things faster. I could keep like, all of my footage kind of on the iPad and have it separate where like that's kind of like my work zone. And then I have my phone for my actual like, stuff. Still using it to record, but overall, again, just a little upgrade there. And then until recently, I was using that iPad from maybe 2021 all the way up to just this past year. And
So I use my laptop until my son bought me a new one for
Right.
Christmas. He was like, Mom, your laptop is dated.
And imagine that was my iPad taking me through all of these clients, taking me through me getting my camera and processing camera footage. And so last December, I actually got 2025, my first laptop ever. And so it took now the editing process and all the things that we've been able to do, like the podcast, editing longer form videos. It just really just took the work up. But each of those things were like investments. And so coming back to the price points, if you want your content to look good, you are going to work with somebody who can give you the quality, but the quality comes with a price point.
Right.
And I think that my prices still aren't, even
you have
anything
very
so
affordable
crazy.
prices.
And I do that because I know what it's like to be a business owner, and I know what it's like I'm not here to drain people's pockets ever. My thing is I want to get to work with people. I want them to feel comfortable with me. I want them to trust me. And then let's build or work something out together that can help me get you to where I need you to be for it to, for me to be really invested.
Help each other too.
Right. And I'm a very big believer in that. I believe like that sometimes, people will shut you down automatically, and, to each its own with how people want to run their business. But for me, I think that one of the strengths and something that sets us apart is trying to work with people and trying to figure out how to still make it happen, but also figure out like, what can we do to just make it work? Right. So yeah, I think as far as like challenges coming back with all of that to the imposter syndrome part, sometimes there's been moments where we didn't have clients, right? Like Eliza and I are very intentional about the people that we work with. We have to know that you are, one, a good person, two, that morally we stand in the same space. And again, that doesn't always mean that, there's people here and there that kind of slip through the cracks, but through time you get to learn like, who your ideal client is. And I think sometimes a challenge could be like making the decision to let somebody go that isn't your ideal client. Even if they're paying you a really good amount, even if it feels consistent, that is sometimes the hardest thing to do, to choose the balance of like your mental health, your sanity, your boundaries.
Absolutely.
And putting those things first before the money, because money comes and goes. But like we only have one body, we only are one person, and like if people are not respecting you and respecting your business, if they're not respecting even the people within their business, that's already, a red flag. And for us, it took some experience, right? Because when you're in it and you're coming up and somebody's like, hey, we're going to pay you $3,000 for a contract. You're like, okay, that sounds great. I need that $3,000, right? But then you start to consider what comes with that. And so now the vetting process looks different for us, of the questions that we ask, the probation period of what that looks like with working with people. And I think the faith that we've grown along the way has really been the success in being able to filter out the people that we can automatically tell now are going to be like a pain. And we're like, no. Like we could be like, again, with so not busy, I will not take a client that doesn't feel good.
That's part of growth, though. And in the beginning, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
It's part of growth, because in the beginning, when you're starting off, you're like, oh my God, I need clients, I need this. And you're easy, quick to take on people that don't match your character. Even with real estate, when we're being hired by a client, now I interview clients, because I'm like, if I can't, even though that client is paying me, I'm not giving you this for free, right? I'm giving you my time. I'm giving you all of me. And sometimes that person doesn't, when you're interviewing them, they're giving you answers that you're like, wait, this is not going to match. In the beginning, I would have taken them on because, I needed clients. I needed to
Right.
do what I had to do. But that's a part of growth, kind of knowing those questions you ask. It's not always about the money. Now it's about my sanity. It's about being able to have the ability that we can work together. Because if we're clashing, or there's things that happen that you're like, okay, this client's gonna drive me crazy. It's
Right.
not worth it.
Exactly.
So
And we have a unique perspective with the retail background of working with teams and working with different types of managers and different types of bosses. And I think, I've picked out the best qualities of all the people that we've worked with. Even some of the people that I thought were crazy or like not good bosses at all, there was still always one thing that I could say, I'll take from this person and kind of make it my own. And so I'm looking right at all of those different personality traits and all of those things. And with businesses, sometimes when they come with teams, I'm looking at and I'm asking, how do you take care of your people? What are you doing different in your business to make sure that they're good? And that tells me a lot about who they are, what their priorities are. And so we had to make a really difficult decision last year. We were in a really great place. Eliza had just been on with me for about a full year, full time. And I had even promised her, before she came, Eliza was a teacher for 5 years, 6 years. She went to school. She has her master's. She's incredible with kids. And I've personally witnessed like the growth that and stories of kids from the beginning of a school year to the end, and just how much she puts into the work, that she's loved it. But being a teacher, takes a lot out of you as well when we're talking about that like mental health space and just where we are right now with this generation of like parents, and how much are they going to put in, how much can they put in, like we're in a place right now where there's a lot of variables of things of like needing to work, needing to do a lot of different things. But all that to say, I had told Eliza, listen, if I can promise to get enough clients for you to make as what you're making right now, will you take the leap? Will you trust me that we could do this? And she was like, yes. And so I did exactly that, got to work, started, and that came in also with, again, thinking about the people that slip through the cracks with the vetting process of, okay, I want to make this work. I want to, be able to have me and my partner make enough money for both of us to be good on this, for us to pay rent, for us to get the other things that, again, we consider rich, having our puppies, having our
your
cat.
babies.
Yeah, like we wanted to have a space that felt like us, that it gave us room to just grow and feel good. And so we had I'm sorry, my throat, I probably need a little water, but we basically were in a really good place with clients. I think the first time she came out with me to meet a client, we closed on the highest contract. And I think that also maybe for her solidified like, okay, I trust that P could do this, and I trust that together we can make this grow. And so yeah, like a year later, we're in a really good place. And now we have 2 contracts that just weren't fitting anymore. They weren't fitting us of who we were for people. They weren't respecting boundaries. And so at that point, I had, called Eliza, and I was out a lot during that time. And I was like, I've been thinking, and I think that these 2 clients, we have to let them go. And they were 2 of our biggest clients that we had. And so more than half of our monthly income was coming from these clients. And we're the type of people and the type of brand that we don't over commit ourselves to clients, because I think that it's really important to make sure that each person feels like you really got them, feels like you're really an extended part of their team. We didn't want to lose that with having so many people that we're working with, and then also not deliver on the quality and the work that we know like we want to put out for everyone. And so at that time,
Takes a lot of time too,
right,
to edit, to go to these businesses, to create the vision that they want.
right,
All of that takes time. A
mm-hmm,
lot of people don't seem to realize that all these things take time. The playing parts.
yeah. And when you really care about what you do and you really care about the clients that you're taking on, you really put in that time to make sure that everything is thought about. Your job is to basically make this part of their job easy, to be able to give them the high level, you know, breakdown of what's happening. They trust you to make those decisions. They trust you to be in the right rooms. If they can't be, and you're kind of acting as their right hand in this very important part of the business that is connected to their growth, connected to their visibility, connected to so many different parts of the business that can really either make or break the business. And so, yeah, we came to a really difficult time where I was like, you know, I feel like I'm doing more than I'm getting back from this. And so there's so many amazing parts of Eliza and I's relationship, but the one thing that I always respect and appreciate the most about her is that, and I think the same for her to me, is that when we're ready to do something, we have each other's back 1,000%.
I love that.
And she said, babe, if that feels like what we need to do, I trust that we're going to make it work and we're going to be okay. The same way that when she was ready to leave teaching and she wanted a moment to, you know, kind of get back to feeling like herself, I was like, if that's what you want to do, we'll make it happen. We'll be okay. On the hardest days, I always let her know, like, if you could not go back to work tomorrow, I want you to know we'll be all right. And so, yeah, we had that call, and the next day we let go of both of the contracts. And I will say that I have never been happier. And even though it felt so scary, I even made a video to remind myself, and I showed you that video.
I remember.
And I said, Priscilla, this is how much money you have in your bank account right now.
I think we cried when I was watching it. We were like, you stayed over my house, and I'm like, we have those moments. So sometimes you want to look back and remember those, you know, those times.
Yeah. And that's what replenishes the faith, you know, like I look back at that when times are tough, and I remember that I made the hardest decision during that time. And a year later, I'm still here. A year later, I'm okay. A year later, our bills are still paid. Our boys still have food. Our cat still has food. Our little mamacita. We're again happier. Been able to also just understand what that boundary with work looks like, that balance. And it was the best decision that I could have made, even though at the time I was literally like in tears, not knowing what to do. And
it is
just
scary.
So scared.
It is scary. Trust me, I know. I've been there more than once. But and I love that you and Eliza have such a good support system. Like, it's very rare that two people can actually work together and not. I'm sure you guys have your ups and downs, but I rarely ever see you guys fight. And she's like, you guys are like what is it? The frick to my frack, the freaking frack. Like, you guys are always like so supportive of each other, and I think that plays a huge part in success when you're working together. It's like you have to trust your partner, and that goes in for relationships. Like, I think a lot of people, when they're in relationships, they want like their partner to. They want everybody to follow. What do you say? They want a leader. Like, people want a leader, right? I want to, but how can I follow someone that's not leading me in the right direction? Right. So if you guys trust each other, that, you know, if I'm going to lead the way, I'm going to follow you, and we're going to do this together. Right. You know, and that's where a lot of relationships, they fail or they grow, you know, and I've seen so much growth for you guys from when you first started to now, you know, now you guys got 2 little babies together, and 3 actually.
Yes.
With the little pitbull.
Mama.
With Scarletita.
Yes.
The little pitty. But yeah, so how is it working with your partner? Do you guys ever, I never see you fight. So do you guys ever have moments where it's like, like a moment that you guys had to be like, okay, I need to breathe? Like, how do you handle
Of
like
course. Of
those kind of
course.
situations?
When Eliza and I first started working together, it actually wasn't even the way we social. It was actually helping mom, like in those late night pickups when, she would be like, can you go get this? And I'm like, all right, I'll take the van. Eliza will come with me. We'll get everything in and we'll drop the van off, the next day or whatever the case was. That was really our like first beginning trials of
Everybody
like
worked
working
with mom,
together.
though.
Oh yeah, it was good, like some extra money coming in. And we we literally would get on each other's nerves like so fast, and we would just have moments where like, I feel like for me, I had to really, there was a lot of layers to how we grew, but let's just say in the beginning our communication just wasn't very strong. And I think that was the first thing that we realized that we had to work on. We've had moments of setting up like events, like doing a party and doing like decorations. And I think that on the day of, what I've realized is that everybody has a different routine of how they prepare for things. And so you could be somebody who needs complete silence and doesn't want to, all you're thinking about is like everything you have to do when you get there or all the things that need to get done. I'm such a big like thinker, I'm such a big planner. And I feel like because I consider all of the possibilities and all of the things, when things don't go right, for me, I feel like automatically like
You shut down.
fail. Yeah, and I don't shut
Not
down
shut
in
down,
the
but you're
sense,
like, you go kind of quiet.
yes.
My experience with you.
Yes. And so for me, it's like, again, because I pride myself on the details and how much care, oh my God, how much care goes into, anything that we do. For sure, that is something that used to kind of affect us, I think. And so with Eliza, she's a spicy one sometimes.
Spicy.
So we had to kind of have this balance of, I think when we first met each other, even like from our different backgrounds and just how we've had to, kind of go through life. And sometimes it's different needing to feel heard or fighting for that space to, like, for you to be seen. And so I think that we came to the table with that in very different ways. And so our first step that I think was really good was that we both went to therapy. And we didn't go to therapy because of working together or because of that, but we did realize like we love each other. We want to be the best versions of each other for each other. And one of my old bosses, when he was getting married back in Topshop, I had asked him, I was like, now that you are married, what's your advice, for a strong marriage? And he said, go to therapy before there's problems. And so I said, I've always thought about that. And it's so true. Like the things that we were going through as individuals and together in our relationship, of course, every relationship has its moments where there's things that you just have to kind of like get through and you learn about each other, and things that come up that as you're getting comfortable, you start to share and things like that. And so I think the best thing that we both did was go to therapy separately from each other. We had the same therapist, but we went separate. It wasn't like a couples therapy thing. And so Eliza was working on the parts of herself that she wanted to heal, the parts of herself that she didn't like and that she wanted to do better. And as I started seeing her go through therapy and talking to me about her sessions, I was like, maybe I should also go to therapy. And she actually asked me, like, I would like for you to go as well. And so for me, again, really big on a balanced person. If your partner's asking you to do something, do it, try it. And so I know that this meant a lot for her, for me to try. And I have never stopped going to therapy after that, and Glenn is amazing. Shout out to Glenda Lee.
Shout out to Glenda.
I love her.
Actually, I see her too. She got the whole family.
Right.
We're missing a few people, but soon.
But she's so good that like we genuinely recommend her and refer her all the time. Whether or not people decide to take that step is on them. But that is the key to us being able to work together because we were able to openly talk about everything with Glenn. And so we've had maybe like 2 sessions with her where we were together, but I think that as individuals, she's equipped us with the right tools that in the moment we're able to go through that toolbox and say, okay, what would Glenn say right now?
So true.
And we now like can have such ease with hard conversations and end those conversations so much faster. There's no like festering on it. I think we joke a lot more now too with each other and can be like okay with how we are seeing certain things, but then also understanding like when things are being brought up that we take the time to sit with it. We take the time to listen. We take the time to really hear each other and not to listen to respond, but to listen and actually take it in. And so I think that we've both wanted to make it work. And that's another part of it. If you are with somebody that's half in it or doesn't really care if it works or not, then you're not really going to find like your partner in it. And that goes with like whether it's romantically or just partners in business in general. You both have to come to the table wanting it to work. And so we're like, that's the only way. We have to make it work.
Right.
And so, yeah, like, again, I think we've learned so much. We've been together for this year will be 8 years.
Wow.
And so in that 8 years time, we've learned what makes each other upset, what each other needs. And we're still refining what that looks like as the roles change.
It's a never ending process, though. You're
Right.
always learning new things. You're always learning each other, as you grow, because that's part of, a relationship. If you stay in the same place, you don't always stay in the same place,
Right.
especially when you meet young, you know?
Exactly. And even, even up to navigating what it looks like as a founder, bringing somebody else in that halfway point, right? Like they might not have been there from the beginning, but she was always there from the beginning as like a support, seeing what I was going through, seeing some breakdowns, seeing those imposter syndrome moments, reminding me that I know what I'm doing and that cheerleader. And so, she'll tell me to this day, like, hey, that conversation that we had, like, I would like to feel more a part of the conversation. How can we make that happen? And for me as a partner, I also want to make sure that she feels like people respect her at the same level that they respect me, or if they need a question or have a question. So we've changed what that looks like. A lot of the time in the beginning, I used to be the one to communicate with clients like solely, kind of give her that information. And I'm like, well, now I'd like for you to reach out to them and let's make a group chat and I'm going to give you questions that you can ask so that way they also can grow that respect with you to know like it's not just Priscilla in this, it's Priscilla and Eliza.
It's a partnership.
And so
I love that.
yeah, you got to think about just, what's going to make the person feel comfortable, even something as much as your body language in a conversation,
Right.
can be, am I talking like this and Eliza's behind me, or am I open and we're all talking together? And so it's all of these little things that, we've taken the time to communicate with each other, to talk about what's going to make each other feel comfortable. And now we're good.
I love it. But sister, we're running out of time, so we're gonna have to do a part two.
Part 2.
Part two.
All right.
So guys, stay tuned to part two coming soon.